Hey, and welcome to Dr. G Speaks. I am Dr. Kristen Guillory, and I am so very excited to help you experience a life of freedom, faith, and fun you may not even realize is possible. Listen, I know you feel held back, I know you feel stuck, and I know you are hiding. As a coach and the author of Look, Stop Hiding, How to Find Your Voice and Never Dim Your Light Again, you will get to listen to some amazing stories, receive some homework, that's the professor in me, and get some tools to help you live the life you deserve. It's time to quiet the noise and walk in the fullness of who God created you to be. It's time to stop hiding and start thriving. Together, we'll uncover your potential and ignite your journey to a fulfilling life, a life of freedom. Hey, this week I am talking to Erica Benjamin, owner of Southern Girl Granola, speaker and fitness guru. Now listen, this week we talk about the desire to date, relationships, and much more. Join us.
So I guess I'm all over the place. Let me ask you this. What step should I take to move in the direction of being in a serious committed relationship? Because I don't think I'm moving in any direction. I think I'm just standing still, and I don't know which way to go, because I don't do dating apps and I don't leave the house much. And I'm sure there are lots of women in my same position. So I think that's the question.
Okay. And I'll answer both. I'll answer the one you just asked, and I'll answer the one about relationships between Black men and Black women. So in terms of, for you, what is something you could do so you can move in the direction of being in a relationship or being open to that? The first that I'll always recommend is to pray, is to state your intention in prayer and meditation, is to just be clear in that and say, God, I realize that I may not be as open as I thought. And while I am happy with my life and enjoying what I'm doing, I am also open to a relationship with a man. I don't know what that's going to look like. So, Lord, help to remove any blocks that I might have. Reveal them to me if you need me to know them, and show me what step to take. That'd be the first, and being intentional with the prayer. And then once you recognize these are the blocks, then doing intentional mind work to remove them, whether it is there is a brain detox by Dr. Caroline Leaf, who is a neuroscientist, and I think through her app called Neuropsych, and it's a 21-day brain detox, because there may be a belief, like let's just use the example of when you mentioned, men were raised to be kind of make themselves happy and they're doing that. And in some way that could be the case, but that it's not the case for all. So in terms of, let's say you have that belief and you're thinking, okay, men just want to make themselves happy and that's it. Subconsciously, there may be some bitterness there. There may be some anger. There may be, man, but we out here doing all this stuff for y'all. But it can be both. It can be, okay, I do believe men could do more, right? That could be your truth. Men could do more. And I acknowledge that that may not be the case for all. And I acknowledge and know that Black women are the foundation of this world, right? I do know that the Malcolm X quote that says, we are still the most disrespected group of people out there.
Yes.
And I know all Black men are not like that. And so it's an and. I believe in and, where I'm not generalizing any person, but that man that is there are those men that I mentioned that have said to me, I've never made myself happy. I don't even know what that means. Again, just to tell you, it's probably in the last couple months, it's been 4 men I've talked to who literally have said to me, for the first time in my life, I'm trying to learn how to love myself. I've never even tried to figure out what makes me happy, because I've tried to make people happy my whole life. And unintentionally, someone who's had that experience, you might block him or somebody who has that. So then it's one of the blocks. The other thing, and I'm not going to say go outside and go do that, because that's taking the reins away from the Lord. I would go back and say, God, here's the desire I have. Is this a desire from you? Show me what to do and how to be open, period. Because I don't believe in that. I don't believe people say, okay, you're not going to meet a man inside. Do you want to know how many people I met who met him at work or met him at the car wash or met him
Right.
at a thing or met him in a virtual meeting, because then it's taking it out of God's hands. God
That's
showed me what to do. There is a woman I knew from church about 20 years ago, and she was about 20, and she was so sad about being single. I mean, when I tell you sad, she was so sad about being single that everywhere she went, is that him? Could that be him? Could that be him? Every place, like every place. Could that be him? And the person she wound up marrying is somebody they participated in a missions trip together 3 years prior. They
mm,
lived in different states. Here's how they got reconnected. He was going through his emails, like he was just cleaning out emails from years and years and years ago, and came across an email from 3 years ago where they exchanged, like, hey, great to meet you. See you later. It had been 3 years. And because of that email, 3 years later, him cleaning out email, he messaged her. 3 months later, they link up, and she didn't orchestrate that.
wow, she did not. Wow.
She didn't go outside. So I really do believe in God, whatever is in me that might prevent me from receiving who I deserve and accepting janky, okay? Because
Yep.
we're not accepting no janky in these
Yep.
streets at all. Lord, remove that from me. The other thing I want to give you is there may be some beliefs that you have that are not the truth. So there may be some beliefs. I challenge you to go through thoughts about men and relationships and self that it could be an experience, but it's not the truth for all.
Hmm.
And whatever that is, I mean, some women believe that all men cheat.
Hmm.
And I don't believe that.
Right.
There are some women that believe. I had a conversation with a woman the other day, and she told me everything she wants in a man. And I said, do you believe that you can have all of that? She said, well, I think I can have 60% of that. I don't think anybody can have 100%. I said, okay, that's her truth. I
Hmm.
then said, the only reason I'm going to tell you this is sometimes we don't know things are possible until we see it. I said, everything you just described, everything, I have that in this friendship I'm in, 100% and more. Everything you just
Mm.
described, I've had that in other friendships with guys who were friends. And she was like, wait, what? Every single thing you described, I've experienced that.
Wow.
So I don't have to settle? No. So it's also in this, okay, Lord, what do I do? It's trusting him that he knows you better than you know yourself and being open. You already said it, and being open. It really is. And rinse and repeat, right? Praying it, turning it into a meditation, turning it into affirmations. And then, Lord, at the end of it, this is not about me being available for men. This is about me being available for you to do what's best for me. This is about me being available for unexpected blessings in unexpected ways, because we can't center the man. We can have that desire, but that's what it is. So I think a fun homework for you, may be a little uncomfortable. That's okay. It's okay, Lord. Okay, Erica, what blocks do I have? What are some things based on my real life experiences that I've had that I may still be holding on to and looking through the lens of that? Okay.
Hmm. That's
Let me
good.
honor my truth and then surrender that so I can look through the lens of not naivete, but the lens through love, grace, the Lord, and expectation.
That's good stuff right there. Yeah. This is it. Yeah, that's good. And I
Yeah.
do know that nothing is absolute, right? So when I do say men, I know it's not all men, but to hear you say the number of men that you've heard say that are selfless, like I always say, you know, people say, would you want to marry you? I would absolutely want to marry me. So I'm like, I want to find another me. But then I think about that and I have to say, well, do I? Like all of me? And so this, the blockers, something that I've not considered. So to be intentional about asking the creator to remove blockers, that's major. Like I feel free just knowing I'm about to start thinking about my blockers.
And see, you're like me. We run to the work. We run towards it. It might be a little uncomfortable, but it's so worth it. And I'll give you this. You may not want somebody just like you because the areas that would complement you, you don't have because you're just like you.
Exactly. That's
So
right.
somebody that could, it's not even about complimenting each other. It is when you two are together, or, the energies together just do more together than apart. It
Absolutely.
is. whatever it means, whether it is a new friendship, whether it is a friendship that goes to a different place, whether it's a new connection with a woman. Like it literally is, there are reasons we meet people. And there, I believe, are soul connections and not just in terms of romantic stuff. Like there's a reason. So, Lord, why did I meet this person? Also, a question to ask in your quiet time is, God, how have I limited you? How have I
Mm,
limited you?
yeah.
Because I'm looking at you like this, or I am basing things on what everybody says. And when I think the reason so many people describe some parts of my life is I didn't know that was a possibility is I'm human, so I'm not pretending I haven't had limits, but I know what I deserve and expect in everything.
Hmm.
And they're like, "Oh my gosh, if I would have just got a part of that, it would have been over." Well, that's why things are different.
Yeah, and with some of us are so busy living life, so many are in survival mode. It's hard to be intentional when you're in survival mode. Like I think about my mother. I think my mom was in survival mode my entire life. So for her to just slow down and think about what she wants, what makes her happy, what she needs. I don't know if, my mother has ever done that. And so to be in this space where I'm thinking these things through and I then introduce these things to my daughters, I think this is where we start to change the dynamic of how women see themselves in the world and how they show up in the world. If I had this information, like with my daughter's age now, like what could I have been? My goodness. And I will pass it on to my daughters so that they have it and they can do what they need to do. I don't know if it's going to inspire them today, but just know that my lineage is getting better, stronger, more aware and self aware. Like that is
Come
incredibly
on.
valuable. Yeah.
It is valuable. And like you said, to your mom's, not defense, but how many women, let's just be real, whether our age or our mom's age, specifically Black women, were said, sit down and think about what you deserve. Sit
Mm-mm.
down and think about your dreams. No, because you were taking care of the house, you were raising kids, you were doing so much, and you were in survival mode. And they didn't even know it was a possibility. And for our parents and grandparents and ancestors, we honor them. We honor them and they did what they knew to do. They did the best they could, but when possibility isn't presented, like, wait a minute, that's a privilege. Think about what I deserve. I don't have
Yes.
time to think about that. And the truth was that was their truth. I don't have the time. And there's time today. There are
Yes.
people who are still in survival mode. The women that I mentioned that I've talked to just about what they desire, and it doesn't matter about degrees, but these are
Mm.
degreed, like very well known in some places women. And for them to say, oh, here's what I want him to be stable, him to be this. And I'm like, you mentioning the bare minimum. Do you know
Yeah.
you can desire more? And some of them did not know. And a woman recently said to me, but Dr. G, who's telling these women this? I'm like, I hope so. She said, you, no, that got to be more. She said, but
Th-
who's telling these women that you don't have to accept janky, that you
Yeah.
can be open and you can be open to a beautiful life single. You
Yeah.
can be open to a beautiful life partnered. As a colleague of mine said, we both desire women to stop making the floor the ceiling. We're grateful he did that, but we're not about to do no parade for that.
Exactly.
But here's what I've learned. Here's what I've learned. I learned that there was judgment because I was like, wait a minute, why is she making that such a big deal? It's not a big deal, but it was a big deal to her because she had never been treated like that. And I realized, like similar to what you said about your mom being in survival mode, there are too many women that don't know that better is available for them. There are too many women that don't know that kindness and love and other things are available. There are too many women that don't know that you don't have to sleep with him
Hmm.
for him to respect and stay with you. And if you do, then he's not the one for you. Leave that off the table.
That's right.
And that is the desire for us to, one, be complete and whole in who we are as women, knowing our worth, knowing that we embody greatness, knowing that there's a gift on our lives, period. And we have the right to deserve and desire the best. We do. I went for a walk with a colleague of mine, and she was telling me that She wanted him to be stable and wanted him to do this. I said, ma'am, that is the bare minimum. What do you want? She said, okay, I want a Hallmark movie. I want a Hallmark movie. And this person I'm talking about is extremely well known. This is a woman that people know about. This is someone that is very successful and people know her name. But even as known and famous as she is, she out in these streets accepting janky. And she said to me, I said, but do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? I said, I've watched you accept beneath who you are for too long. Stop that. Stop that. In business relationships and romantic relationships, stop that. And she said, there have been times I've said to God that I didn't believe I deserved good stuff,
Oh, wow.
that a part of me didn't believe I deserved it. So I wonder how many women are out there who don't believe they deserve it, who say it, who want to believe it, but deep down they don't believe it because of either past hurt or things they've been through or them not thinking they're worthy. And if that's any person in that place, then the first thing is, Lord, you say your truth. Lord, I struggle with believing I deserve certain things, but I want to move in the direction of being open to receiving what you have for me. It's not about, oh, I know I deserve all this today. It's I acknowledge it. I struggle, but Lord, I want to move in the direction of it. Like there's so many things that society has said to just us as Black women and to
Yes.
Black men, where we present our representatives as opposed to if we just kind of share at a heart level
Yeah.
and we're honest and we don't try to put kind of false pretenses up, things would be so beautiful. I can kind of tell somebody's character, Erica, within about 60 seconds of him coming up to me. I know immediately and I don't engage. I was at an event and I was in the lobby to do a business call, and this guy came. He sat down, he handed me his phone. He said, put your number in my phone. I said, and your name is?
Right. My
He said,
goodness.
oh, we going to do that? And we are. I
Oh.
knew off top, this is what you do. You lead with that. You think you're this. No, thank you. No,
Hmm.
thank you. Just be authentically who you are. That's
Yeah.
it. But there's so much fear and hurt around where we don't know that who we are is enough right now.
Yeah. And we hear people say that all the time, but a lot of people, what does that even mean? Like, I am enough. And who, breaks that down to people? Like, we hear these catchphrases and we see them on social media, but how does a woman know I am enough and what that means, what that looks like?
That's good. So, how do we know we're enough? First of all, if you are a believer, then God has made us whole. And knowing that, okay, God, you say that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I don't really fully know what that means. So I'm trying to. You say I am loved, and how you created me is on purpose. And my personality, my intellect, this is who I am. There's no amount of degrees that's going to make me more valuable to this world, maybe job wise, but in who I am. And I don't mean, oh, but I have so much healing that I need to do, right? I have healing, but in our core identity, because when we start attaching our value to things, that's when we struggle with the being enough. When we start thinking, I need another degree to be taken seriously. I
Hmm.
need to get this other program. I need to wear these kind of shoes. I need to have this kind of car and house. That's
Hmm.
where we put our value and we won't feel that. But like, wait a minute, wait a minute. I don't have to be everybody's type. Being everybody's type is not the same as being enough. I am wise. I am funny. I try to be a kind person. I am working on myself. Right, whatever it is for her. But to say, no, God, I don't have to change my hair in order to attract a man. I don't
Right.
have to
Yeah.
do this because whoever is meant
Hmm.
will be attracted to me, but I have to make sure that I'm not blocking me
Right.
and I'm not putting the facade up. That's not who I am. So that is, and great question. It's so many layers to that. Enough is doesn't mean that I can't improve. It doesn't mean that there's not better. It just means, oh, that degree doesn't make me more valuable. That lipstick doesn't make me more valuable. That money doesn't make me more valuable. I'm valuable because of who God created me to be. And He says I'm His child. And I have overcome and survived so many things. How am I even still here? What? No
Yeah.
degree help with that. That was stuff that I got from my mother, from my faith, from
Mhm.
all of that. So if I can survive that, I can absolutely work on blocks being removed so I can discover what being enough is for me. So that's also a self-discovery. Like, Lord, show me what it means to be enough. And am I? And if I'm not, what will help me believe that I am, or what will help me get there? So you see, Erica, it all
Mhm.
goes back to prayer and mind work, all of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
None of it is about material things and degrees and how you look and all of that. Now, granted, do we have preferences aesthetically? Yes, I'm not saying that kind of stuff, but it's so much to it. Are you complete and whole in who you are today?
That is beautiful, Dr. G. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you or ask at the extravaganza. So, a lot of people that I run into and that are in my circle. So, to talk about God and spirituality and quote scriptures, like that turns them completely off because, yeah, the stance that they take on, Pan Africanism or whatever their practices are, right? So,
Yeah.
how do we, I need to find words that mean the same thing. Like some people say universe, some people say ancestors, like, but there are a lot of people out here who I can't go to in a way that I normally would. And even as you're talking to me, like they would just check out because those words don't resonate. How do we address and motivate and inspire people who like God ain't gonna work, scriptures ain't gonna work, spirituality ain't gonna work? Because I come across those people a lot.
Great question. I would say thank you for sharing, but it does work. It doesn't have to be the same God for you, but it does because we're not in this world by ourselves. If we are thinking that it's all up to me, then you've already lost. If you're
Yeah.
thinking that you are going to determine everything in your life by yourself, you've already lost because
Mhm.
whether you call it God, universe, higher power, literally, we do not orchestrate what's going on in our life. And you know that.
Can't.
There's
We
so
cannot.
many things that I look at happening like I didn't orchestrate that. The thing that I had to do was be open, be obedient, and be ready to do it. And
Mm.
so, in the place of the language, it's whatever the person is. So, if they want to say ancestors, we honor that. If they want to
Mhm.
say higher power or universe, we honor that. But it is spirituality. It is.
It
It is a
is absolutely.
spiritual component in all of this. It is.
Yeah.
And it is, if somebody's response to something like this is what I done work. So there's hurt in them, right? Because when you hear things, you pull out what works for you. So if
Yeah.
somebody says God, like, okay, I don't know if God is for me. Ooh, but what she's saying is good though. Okay, that speaks to me. So it is, you know what, whatever you want to use. So I may say, God, you are welcome to say universe, ancestors, higher power. You're welcome to say Buddha, whatever it is
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
And my heart's desire is that you receive whatever it is you need to receive. So on that Sunday, we talked about it earlier before we started recording, Sunday of the extravaganza, it turned into church in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I
It did.
didn't have people pull out scripture. I didn't have us do that. But, and everybody in that room, I'm not going to assume is Christian.
Right.
Yet it was such a powerful spiritual experience for every person in the room that was a little open and they got from the experience what they needed.
That's right. Yep. So being open seems to be the answer. Being open seems to be the answer to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To an extent, being open to the truth that is in alignment with your spirit, your destiny, your soul, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there could be a truth that is a harmful truth and really not the truth, right? So
Absolutely.
there could be somebody out there, let's just call it what it is. There is people have been open to truths that are harmful, that if you're
Mm-hmm.
single, you're not enough, that if you don't have kids by a certain age, you're not this. So whether it's in meditation, prayer, to the universe, to God, help me to be open to only, this is actually an affirmation, only what is in alignment with my purpose, my calling, and my destiny.
Yeah.
And you can change it. What is in alignment with my spirit, my soul, and who I am. Because we've got to be careful because there are forces out there. It is what it is. There are. And that's how we have to guard our heart, guard our mind, because we can be susceptible to so many things. That's why even certain TV shows, I love SVU. I love Law and Order SVU. And I used to watch it at night, part of it because the screen is dark, but I started realizing I can't watch that at night because that's the last thing my eyes see and
Yes.
ears hear, and that's impacting me.
So real. Yes,
It
Dr.
is real. Yep. Absolutely. So it's the same as, and the person who says, I don't believe in any of that, that's fine. And there are things that have happened in your life that was totally out of your control. Even if you want to call it science, even if you
Hmm.
want to call it that, there's still forces out there that are beyond you. So be mindful what we allow in and back to that question. People can choose to use whatever language and names they want to call it. It's about help me to be open to what I need for me today. And if
Hmm.
there's anything that resonates, I take it. If there's anything that's not for me, then I don't even have to address it.
Absolutely.
It's like a buffet. It's okay, I don't like that, I don't like that, I want to eat that. Or like the food, we had the tacos on Sunday and I think there was chicken and there's shrimp. Some people
Hmm.
don't eat shrimp. Then you don't have to get the shrimp. Get the
Right.
chicken, right? I don't have to talk about, oh, I love that shrimp. I don't eat no shrimp. You don't have to talk about that. You just don't eat
Right.
shrimp and that's okay. But the chicken was good for me.
There you go. That's a great way of expressing all of that. So yeah, now you've given me another tool. So yeah, I really appreciate that, Dr. G.
You are welcome. And I want to get to your very first question,
Oh,
and we'll trunk the deuces maybe. Is you said about the relationships between Black men and Black women. And I have witnessed and come to understand that there is just some friction between I have the very unique, privileged experience of being in a room with only men and seeing men express and say things that they would never do, which is why at the end of the candid conversations, the men are literally just staring at me like, what the F did we just do?
you just do to us.
Like, no, I had one of the guys said to me, he said, Dr. G, we don't know what you do to us. It's like you sprinkle pixie dust in the room and we do whatever you want. He said, you have us singing R&B to each other. You have us shaking our hip. I said, well, I didn't tell y'all to pick that R&B song. That's what you picked. What I learned is when men in particular, and I think this is women too, but when men feel safe and not judged, they open up for them.
Mm.
Every person's opening up is going to look different, but they open up. I've had people say, you got these men to open up in 10 minutes. How did you do that? The space is safe and not judged because I have had men come in really nervous and have said to me, we didn't know what you were going to do. We didn't know if you were going to fuss at us. I said,
Mm.
fuss at you? We didn't know if you were going to fuss at us. I had another man say, man, the sisters you have volunteering are amazing. We're not used to that. We're used to kind of women fussing. And I said, wait, what? They said, we didn't know if they were going to like not be nice to us or be a little rude to us. And I'm like, wait, what, gentlemen? We didn't know. So that nervousness they have coming in, partially is, Lord, we're about to talk about feelings. The other
Mhm.
is, I don't even know what's in this space. And I've had men say, Dr. G, I wish that women could see what you do because I try to open up to the women in my life or the woman in my life and she throws it back in my face. Then on the other side, I've had women say, this man is not sharing anything, or there's a lot of projection on when, some men will say, all Black women and all that. I think the core of it is there's hurt. There's hurt, and the hurt is valid, and the hurt is true and real. But what happens with the hurt is the hurt then becomes the lens through which we look at everybody. So
Mhm.
there's an assumption that everybody acts like this. So when I've had a few men say, well, you know how y'all are. I said, no, I don't know how y'all are. I know how I am. Tell me how we are, because that's not me at all. Nope. Women, y'all just care about spending money. I said, that's not me. That's not me at all. But that's his experience.
Right.
And we base our life and experience. And I'm not saying that there haven't been some adverse experiences from Black men and adverse experiences from Black women, but I think because of the hurt, we have our ego is up, our pride is up, our walls are up, and we can't show you that I'm sad or that I'm hurt. So I'm just going to posture with this. And I'm going to posture with, all Black women and all Black men, as opposed to if you just sat and heard each other, if you just sat and just said, I see you, Black woman. I see you. I see you. I know so many Black women don't feel seen. And I think Black men would say the same thing. So how do we bring it together? It's not a grand, this NASA formula. The formula is to acknowledge my pain that I may have. Like I do have some bias to see each other. to see each other, similar to what we did on Sunday at the extravaganza when I invited you all to look at your partner and
Yes.
see this person. You are looking at a miracle. You are looking at a survivor. Seeing somebody doesn't mean I have to like you. Seeing somebody doesn't mean I have to date you. Seeing somebody doesn't mean I got to go to Starbucks with you. It
Mhm.
means I see you as somebody who's gone through something, and together, maybe something beautiful will happen, but both parties have to be willing to let the guard down just a little bit,
Right.
just a little bit. And I can't control you. So here's what I do at the events. I may from time to time just say, "Hey, I see you," or "Thank you for sharing," or "Thank you so much for being here." And then what I've seen is the men then go pass that on. It's a domino effect. So in
Mm.
their relationships with other men or other women, then they start to say, "Thank you for sharing. I see you. Thank you for this." So it starts with us and then deciding, do I have hurt? Pray about that hurt. And what's the step? And help me not to look through the lens that every man or every woman is the same, but seeing them as human. Now, listen, I'm not talking about raggediness. I'm not talking about somebody
You're
who is
right.
just
You talk about
consistently
janky.
right. We're not talking about janky. I'm not talking about
Right.
the person who is just hell bent in just being disrespectful. And that person that chooses that, there's hurt in them too. I'm not excusing their behavior, but there's hurt in them too that's so deep down that it's easier to be where they are as opposed to do the work to release that.
Because we've all hurt each other. And when I hear these debates that men and women have and all the pointing the finger and all the blame, I'm like, we've all hurt each other. We've all disappointed each other, all fallen short, but we need to move in a direction together, or we need to heal individually and come together so that this world is a better place for the people coming after us, because it's just so concerning to me. Like I said, even for the men that my daughters are going to date or be in relationships with, like, we have to work to get to a healthier place. And a lot of people, like you just said, don't even have people around them to say, hey, every time you say that about this topic, like I hear a lot of hurt in your voice, whatever it is. We're not holding each other accountable to our own perspectives that may not be valid, just like you just did for me. I think we need more of that. And I think that will definitely help move us in the right direction. But I don't know how to clone you.
Ma'am, well, no, it's not about cloning me. It's about you now have the information. You now have the sauce. So
That's
you get to determine what do I do with this now? Because you can't say, what do I do? Because you just
right.
got it. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be
Yeah.
out there. And here's the other thing. You just said, how do you clone? When this comes out, you share this conversation with other
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. That's
You
right.
share this and have them listen to it. And I'm gonna give you this. Now, I talked to my mom about this recently. I just said, Mom, there's a friend of mine going through, I have a couple friends going through just hard things right now. And there's a
Mhm.
friend of mine going through something really hard. And it has been interesting and hard and confusing for me to watch him go through this really hard stuff and seemingly nobody sees him except me. And this is a person that is another person out there and is known by people. And I just remember thinking, I asked him one day, so nobody sees this? Nobody sees that you're struggling? Nobody sees that you physically have changed? He said, no, like you're the only one. And I have had too many people, men and women, tell me that I have been the only one to see them. There's another gentleman. This is years ago. We were having a meeting and I said to him, "So I don't want you facilitating because you're not good. I want you to
Mm.
come for you." And we met up on a Sunday. At that time, I was a therapist and my sessions were walking sessions. We would hike, we would walk by water. Those are my sessions. And I said, "Come meet me and I will gift you a walking session." And he came
Mhm.
and he said, "Doc, you are the first person to see me."
Wow.
I said, "What?" He said, "I get on major stages." Again, this is another known person. I don't know just known people, okay? But everybody's known, okay? Every
Right.
person
I
is
see.
known.
Right.
But this is a person who literally, before meeting up with me, was just on stage performing in front of 5,000 people. And he said, "You're the first person to see me. I tell my community, I've told my wife, and nobody says anything when I tell them I'm struggling. The response is, oh, I'm struggling too." I've had so many people over the years. There's a woman I know who would post online from time to time that she was in the hospital. And I noticed she went to the hospital like 2 times in 2 months. And I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, so you need to sit down and you need to blah, blah, blah. How many people are telling you to sit down? And she said, well,
Mhm.
you. I said, no, not just me. Who else? This is another person. And I think the assumption is if you are perceived as having it all together or being strong, then you maybe aren't seen. And here's the other part with the first story, what broke my heart by my friend going through this hard thing. And a family friend said, Doc, we see what we want to see. And my mom would say, you have the eyes to see. You see people. You can tell when something's going on. But I'm like, Mom, it doesn't take that much just to pause and see somebody. And I
Mhm.
think, number one, we're not encouraged to do that. Let's just be real. So I'm not mad at anybody for not seeing. We're not encouraged to really step back and see them beyond their stuff. We're not really encouraged to see each other. So in terms of men and women, if we saw each other, like if I just saw you, I was at a restaurant in the hotel where we hosted the extravaganza, and our waitress was acting a little weird. And
Mhm.
she was trying to take somebody's plate extra early a couple times. And she was almost seeming trying to rush us. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I think something's wrong. So I went to her and I said, I just need to tell you that I see you and I can tell something is wrong. And her
Mhm.
response was, yeah, I'm having family issues right now. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's all I did. And I walked away. And now one of the team members said, oh, Dr. G done got this waitress crying in the hotel. I said, no, she's not crying. But it's literally, it costs no money to see each other. Join us next week for part 2. The affirmation for this week is I am surrendering any limits that are on me, and I am only open to what is in alignment with my purpose, my calling, and my destiny. I am surrendering any limits that are on me, and I'm only open to what is in alignment with my purpose, my calling, and my destiny. Be sure to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Deuces.